What's going on YouTube? Forrest Proctor here from Assume Your Power. First thing I want to say is I really appreciate everybody who's watching this, everyone who has subscribed, comment, all that jazz. I can't tell you how happy I am to be making this video right now, mainly because I haven't made a video in a hot minute, and I'm about to get back to that, but some crazy crap's been happening to me. Good stuff, you're gonna hear about it. I'm actually in my camper right now. I wish I could have filmed this outside, but the sun went down on me because I had a pipe bust up in here, and I had to get up under the camper and fix it, and it was not fun. But it's all fixed now and we're good. And we're actually out in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas filming a project. So I've got like all my film gear is like everywhere in here. And I manifested this, as we all do, every single thing. So we're gonna get into that. But today's video topic is, this world is super small, so you need to get what you want. And this is a little less about intentional manifestation. It's a little more about changing something in your mind that will make things automatically manifest in your life, and that is the size of the world. So let's get into it. We perceive this world as being very large, especially if you come from humble beginnings, and I know I do. I was raised in a small town in South Mississippi with a single mom who, bless her heart, did so much for me and my brother, and always made it seem like we were the richest people on the planet because we always had everything. We had the PlayStation, we had, the bicycles, we, got to play travel soccer, and we did so much stuff. And she was the person who actually bought my first camera and got me into this kind of stuff. But when you come from humble beginnings like that, the world seems massive when you sit at home with your little bunny ears and you're watching, the VH1 Music Awards, and it's like coming in and out, or you're watching Monday Night Football and you just feel like this world is so massive and you're so small. It's all about perspective, because in a way that's true. But whenever you switch your mindset to seeing the world as being small rather than big things start happening, because you're no longer looking at this mountain that's so hard to climb. You're seeing yourself and the world on the same plane. And I've got some real life examples, a lot of them actually, and I'm only going to touch on a few. But this little mindset shift will make huge things happen in your life, and it'll make, applying for that big job seem easy, or approaching that big client seem easy, or sending that cold email, or making that cold call, or going to that networking event seem super easy, and it'll just change your life. So let's get on into it. Throughout my film career, and that's the craft that I do. So it doesn't matter what you do in this life. You can take these principles and apply it, and it'll work. But throughout my career in video production, film production, mostly video production, I've never really thought that I couldn't do something. I've never thought that I couldn't land a big client. And over the years, that has translated into me getting into some rooms with some very large personalities and famous people, actually. And that has just kind of trickled on down and had a domino effect, if you will. And I'm going to give you a few examples, but the first thing I want to talk about is something that they call the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I'm trying to remember if that's either talking about, basically Kevin Bacon can be connected to every other Hollywood actor by 6 connections. But it goes further than that, because I think that everybody on the planet, pretty much with the exception of some tribes that are secluded from society, everybody can be connected through 6 connections. So what that means is, so you might be from a small town in Illinois, maybe your family doesn't have a lot of money, but your mom works at a grocery store and she knows the manager. Well, that manager knows the owner of the chain of grocery stores. Well, that owner knows, some senator. That senator knows Donald Trump. Do you get where I'm going with this? So the world is not as big as we think. There's just a lot of different systems in place, and you might just be 1 or 2 connections away from where you want to be. So I'm trying to paint a picture for you guys, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and my experiences, and maybe leapfrog some of the things I've had to do, or just be aware of it so that when you're going through it, you can recognize this is what's happening. Maybe the next connection is going to get me to step 6 or 7 out of 10, and then, the next connection after that gets me to 10, aka where you want to be. So I want to talk about a few real life examples that have happened to me over the years. And, this is going to go into some other concepts like being bold and just going after it and the art of not giving a fuck, like that's honestly what this is also going to touch on. But I want to touch on a job that I had for about 2 years working for a guy. And I'm not going to say his name, but if you're from South Mississippi and Laurel specifically, you'll know who I'm talking about. So this guy is very well known, one of the most wealthy men in Mississippi. I was living in Laurel at the time, and I saw this guy's billboards everywhere because he owned a couple companies, and just saw his marketing was kind of lacking like a modern style. And then so I looked into his companies and they had zero video, zero photography, and I saw an opportunity. And so what I did was I picked up the phone and I called the headquarters of the company. I said, "Hey, can I talk to the boss?" And I said his name. And she transferred me immediately to his office. Lo and behold, he answered the phone. And I said, "Hey, listen, my name is Forrest Proctor. I do this, this, and this, video, photography, and, basically content creation." And I was like, "I think I could really be an asset to you and your company. Do you think I could come in and just, talk with you more about it and maybe show you some work?" Well, him and his wife looked at my work on the internet before I ever came in, and they invited me in for lunch. Well, I came in to eat lunch with him, and this guy's office was unbelievable. They call him the real life Indiana Jones. Again, if you're from Mississippi, you'll know who I'm talking about. But I had lunch with him, and the lunch lasted 5 hours. And we brainstormed, we laughed, we didn't cry, but we talked about, different things that we could do with the company, and people were excited. And then, we talked about different ideas and things like that. And ultimately, it turned into a job. And this guy owns 7 companies, some of which are international, some of which were national, and a few of which were regional. Big time companies, and probably bringing in 70 million or something a year. And so I ended up being the marketing director for that guy for all of those companies, minus 1 or 2 of them where they already had somebody. But all to tell you that he had a personal connection with Duck Dynasty, the crew from Duck Dynasty, so I got to meet them. He had a personal connection with Charlie Daniels, so I had the opportunity to photograph and meet Charlie Daniels. He also had a personal connection and actually a beef with Donald J. Trump, which I never got to meet, but still, like, it just really painted a picture for the first time in my life how small of a world it really was. And it wasn't like I was low down in this company. I was working alongside of him every single day on projects, sometimes even working out of his house and having an office in a building that wasn't even part of his company. I was kind of like this rogue employee, really, and I had a direct connection. He sent me all over, I want to say all over the world, but he really just sent me all over the country to film different documentaries and content for his companies, and it was an incredible experience. And where did that all come about? That all came about from me being super bold, just picking up the phone, and I just called the guy. And then the next 2.5 years of my life was spent traveling the country. I shot a documentary in Sturgis, South Dakota about the Sturgis Biker Rally. I filmed content for a resort down in Belize. I filmed content for multiple ministries that he was a part of and motorcycle clubs, and it was just incredible. And you know what? I'll go back a little bit to my youth, even before that. I was probably like 23, 24 at that time. Before that, I've been a soccer player my entire life, and to this day I play and referee soccer when I can. But in high school, I was sought after by a couple different schools. And I remember there was a school I really wanted to go to was coming to watch me play against Biloxi in South Mississippi. And we got to the game, and the coach had notified me, "Hey, these 3 coaches are coming to watch you specifically tonight, so you might want to, be on your A game." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm excited. I'm grateful that they're here." Well, the game got rained out, and I'll never forget sitting on the bus and just seeing the rain go down the window and just kind of leaning against it and being in disappointment, hoping that the rain would stop, and it never did, and there was lightning warnings and all that, and the game got canceled. Well, the 3 coaches, that was like one of the last opportunities they were going to have to watch me, and they ended up not getting to watch me. And things just kind of fizzled out. Like, I didn't sign, I didn't do anything special, and it was so anticlimactic, building up throughout my entire life and how much time I had put into this sport. And being young and not really having, my parents cared about it, but they didn't, they weren't like those hovering helicopter soccer parents who were like in touch with scouts and stuff. It was kind of on me. And I remember like the day after I graduated, I was sitting at my house or my mom's house watching Manchester United play. And I remember watching and feeling so depressed, like thinking, wow, I'm not going to play soccer ever again, am I? And I decided right then and there, I picked up the phone and I called one of the schools that were interested in me. And I got on the phone with the coach, who was actually a Russian coach. So it was a little hard to understand. I had to call a bunch of people to kind of like get the number. And I called the administration and all that. I was like, hey, I need to talk to the soccer coach. I need to get his number. And I finally got his number. And he answered the phone. I said, hey, my name's Forrest Proctor. You were supposed to come watch me play about 2 weeks ago in Biloxi. And yeah, you didn't get to see me play. And I really want to play. I'll come try out, whatever you want to do. And he interrupts me and he says, no, you're on the team. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I saw you play in the Laurel tournament. You're on the team. I'm like, oh, really? And he says, yes, I do not have a dorm for you. But if you come, you find somewhere to stay, you're on the team. No scholarship. I said, okay. So I go up there. I find a place to live. I actually find a place. There's a guy standing on a porch. I go up and I'm like, hey, I need a place to live. He's like, cool, I'm remodeling this place. If you help me remodel it, I'll let you live here for $100 a month. I was like, oh, okay. So like I'm playing soccer during the day, going to class, and helping remodel this house, which was pretty cool. And the guy ends up being my mentor. But all in all, halfway through the season, I really worked hard, and I ended up getting a full scholarship for soccer. I took a scholarship of another guy who was kind of slacking, and he ended up quitting and got drug tested and had to quit. And I got a scholarship. So I'm saying all that because I'm going to go back into the big world, small world stuff, but just take an initiative. I was sitting on that couch, and if I would have never made that phone call, I would have never gotten to go to that school to play soccer. I would have never got that scholarship. I would have never got that free education. It all came down to that one phone call. Now, me going back, that was about being bold, right? And I'm trying to like talk fast so you can get this information, but really what you got to understand is the world is small and it's full of opportunity, especially if you live in the United States. There's absolutely no reason you can't go out there and get what you want and really like spearhead it, like go at it like nobody else in 2023, 2024, 2025, especially the younger generation. I hope you guys see this and do this, but in all reality, with all the video games out there and the mind-numbing social media, nobody's going to do this stuff. So if you're willing to go do this stuff, knock on doors, call people, you're going to go so freaking far, and it's still happening to me this day. Now, I want to go into this day and talk about 2023 and an experience that I've had with MLS soccer, actually, and a David Beckham documentary, and what I'm doing now, traveling the country, making content. And you're going to see some images. Hopefully, I'll put them on screen if I'm editing well. I was in Colorado last week. Now I'm in the Ozark Mountains shooting some content for some companies, or for a company, and it's so crazy how small this world is. And you guys have heard or seen my video on scripting, which is basically writing out what you want very intentionally. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go. I think it's like it is the 5th video on my videos on YouTube. But make sure you go watch that video because it goes in depth on my technique on how I manifest and use the law of attraction, law of assumption, gratitude, to basically write out what I want in this life. But I want to go back to how this world is so freaking small. So I was scripting one day about, 6 months ago, because I love shooting video. I love doing all that. And I also love soccer, going back to soccer. So, I scripted, I said, I want to land a big video job that pays well, that allows me to be involved in soccer again. Now, I didn't know what that meant. Like, was I going to get a call to come film for Manchester United? Who knows, I scripted out what I wanted, and then I just kind of had to wait for my order to be placed. Well, my order was placed. I actually am part of a Facebook group online that is videographers, basically. And I, periodically I share my work, like we all do. And I get an email from this company and this marketing team, and they say, hey, would you be interested in shooting some video for us? We're going to do 6 cities in 4 days. Or it was 5 cities in 6 days. Basically, hopping on a jet and flying to Philadelphia, Toronto, Dallas, Chicago, where else? Austin. Basically doing like a speaking tour with this guy. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. And I gave him a quote and thumbs up, like, let's go. So get on the plane in Mobile, Alabama. I fly to Philadelphia, and all of a sudden I'm in an Escalade with these guys in suits, and I'm just going around with my camera, setting up, basically filming a traveling seminar, if you will. They were going city to city, talking to their employees about, you know, what was coming up in the next year and the goals, and basically just like a team building exercise for their higher ups in their company. Well, I'm sitting in this room with these two guys, and one of them happens to be Tim Lewicki, and I don't even know who that is. You know, I'm just here filming the guy, and lo and behold, this man is not solely but very, very instrumental and responsible for bringing the soccer culture that we know here in America to America. And he, you know, was a commissioner for the NHL at one time, for the MLS. He owned multiple MLS teams. He's been involved. He was involved in bringing David Beckham to the United States, which I'll talk about a little bit in a second. And just very, very instrumental. And now he owns a company that does hospitality for, you know, big sporting arenas, and that was the company I was shooting for. Freaking crazy, right? Like, I was like, I want to do something that kind of involves soccer, involves sports. Really, soccer was the thing. And now I'm following Tim Lewicki speak and hanging out with him and his partners in rooms that really a small kid from Mississippi has no business being in, right? I mean, let's be honest. But there I am because, you know, I decided that's what I wanted. And it all came from somebody seeing a video I did on Facebook. And now I'm on a jet flying around. Like, and it's, you know, flying around is not a big deal. Like, I've probably been on 200 plus flights doing video and photography. It's taken me all over. But it's just, it's pretty bizarre and insane, like what this law of attraction, a law of assumption, scripting, you know, man becomes what he thinks about, basically, which is something Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor have always talked about. And if you never watched The Secret, you need to watch The Secret. It's free on Tubi. But this world is super small. Like, all of a sudden, I'm hanging out with the originator of the Major League Soccer, like the MLS. And what's even crazier, right, is I was filming him in Philadelphia speak. And I mean, like, it's not like I was his videographer, personally hired. I'm filming him do a speech, and then him and his partner tell me, hey, we're going to have to cut this one just a tad bit early. I need to go across town. I've got to film an interview for a Netflix documentary, so we're going to cut it a little early. And then we'll see you in Toronto. I was going to fly ahead of them to Toronto. So I'm like, okay, cool. No big deal, right? Sounds awesome. I wanted to ask, but, you know, at some point you kind of like, you know your place on the totem pole in a way, and you just want to be the cool videographer who's just, you know, level-headed or whatever. So I didn't really ask what they were filming, but I was like, all right, cool, I'll see you in Toronto. And I didn't think much. Actually, I thought zero about it for 6 months, about that conversation. I just knew they had to go film something. They were going to meet me in Toronto, and that's what happened. Well, 6 months later, if you have not seen the David Beckham documentary on Netflix, I really advise you watch it because it is incredible. The way that they paint David Beckham, and not paint him, but the way that they pull the curtain back and actually let you see the personality and what he went through and his successes and failures and all that is really incredible. But what I found even crazier was I'm sitting there watching it, and all of a sudden there's Tim being interviewed. Not only is there Tim being interviewed, but he's wearing the exact same clothes that he was wearing 2 hours before when I was filming him and eating lunch with him and his team. So, what does that mean? That means a small kid from Mississippi who really had no business being there, who has ambition and drive and just honestly won't take no for an answer, was hanging out with a guy who was then hanging out with David Beckham and Netflix 2 hours later. So, and let's rewind, like, let's really unpack this, because growing up, David Beckham was my idol. Like, for real. Like, that was my favorite soccer player. And I had like 5 or 6, but David Beckham, Ronaldinho, Thierry Henry, like, those are the top 3. Those are just the guys who spoke to me when they touched the ball. And really, I think David Beckham was number 1. And so in my wildest dreams, in my small mind, before I started realizing how small the world is, I would say there's no way I will ever, number one, meet David Beckham or be associated in any way, shape, or form with David Beckham, or be in the same room with David Beckham, or anybody else that's in the room with David Beckham. But lo and behold, because of my drive, my mindset on how the world is small and that there's literally nothing you cannot achieve. You know, I was hanging out with a guy who was hanging out with David Beckham 2 hours apart. Like, that's how close I was to David Beckham. My goal was not to get to David Beckham, right? And if it is, I'll script it and maybe I'll meet him and hang out with him or work with him on a project. But that wasn't my goal, right? My goal was just to be involved in soccer in some way or be close to soccer. And even though it didn't hit it right on the head, it came pretty darn close to manifesting into that exact thing. And it made me money. I gained experience. I've gained lots of jobs since then from that job. And it's like a domino effect, this stuff. Once you start really realizing your power, you know, it's almost like you can't be stopped. And I actually have like 3 or 4 more stories like that. And, you know, you guys have probably seen my video, or I hope you've seen my video on how I manifested $50,000 and fucked it up. Well, that story has now been turned around because the client that I screwed up on called me back, and now I'm traveling the country for them, so much so that I bought this camper and I've had to live out of this camper a little bit in order to make this project happen, which is totally fine. It's been an adventure. I love it. But yeah, this world is super small, guys, and there's like no reason you can't achieve what you want. And I think it's not so much like the scripting stuff and the visualization and the meditation. That stuff's really, really important. And that's stuff that you're going to intentionally do, and you should intentionally do. But there's also little tweaks that you can do to your mindset that will make your manifestations also automatic. And we're always manifesting no matter what. Whether you like it or not, you're manifesting. That's why, you know, when you're super negative things keep happening to you. Whenever you think about being sick or talk about being sick, or people you know who think about being sick or talk about being sick, they're always, what? Sick. Go figure, right? Because you're manifesting all the time. So I think the more that we can learn together and improve together and changing our mindset, the more we can start putting some of this manifestation on autopilot. And that's kind of what I think about viewing the world as small. That's just a little hack to be able to put your manifestation and your affirmations on autopilot. And it's like really working for me. And honestly, it's been working for me for almost 10 years that I didn't even realize it. But now that I am realizing it, I'm hoping this information will help you guys in your journey, in your life's journey, and really just getting what you want out of this life, because it's so crazy. Once you realize how easy this stuff is, you can basically just start placing your order. Now, the other thing to that is, you know, people, like I've actually seen Joe Rogan talk about how, you know, he's sitting around and thinking about something. I don't see how that can work. You know, I actually think that probably can work, but it takes a really strong mind, strong-willed mind. I think the easier way to do it, and the more fun way, is when you combine it with action. Like, I'm always just working my butt off hard, like running around with his cameras, shooting, editing, making phone calls, sending proposals, doing emails, but I'm also turning on these automatic ways of manifestation and doing these intentional ways in terms of my scripting that I like to do, my meditation, my visualization, my akin to sleep exercises. And, you know, we're going to get into all that on this channel as we go forward. But yeah, I just hope this video helps you turn on some of these automatic manifestation techniques. And just remember, guys, this world is super duper small. It's tiny, man. And you can meet whoever you want. You can have the biggest company or the smallest company that you want. You can have any job that you want. You just have to believe that it's already happened. It's coming to you. Place your order with the universe, and then have faith that it's coming, and take action whenever opportunity arises to go for it. Like when I got the email from the company asking if I could do that, I said yes. And without even knowing about the soccer and David Beckham connection, right? And yeah, I think if you guys do that, you're going to be super successful. Again, don't forget to assume your power. If you like this video, please subscribe. I really appreciate everybody who has already subscribed. Comment below. If you have a story about how the world is super small, I would love to hear it. Actually, the comments are like my favorite thing on the planet. So even if you don't subscribe, please comment. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.